And if you're setting up your own business, self development is the first thing you will need to get into, because there'll be a lot of internal blocks that will come when you start. Lot of internal block. So dealing with that internal resistance is where you definitely need to invest in yourself to know how you can get out of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, do you aspire to be an entrepreneur, to build your own business, to leave a legacy behind? If you want to know how to get started, or if you're already on your journey and want some help on how to tackle the challenges you're facing, this show is for you. Here at Be Your Own Boss, we hear from entrepreneurs about their stories, some very practical tips, and some inspiration.
Welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Boss. Our guest this week is Parull Diwaan, the founder of Aaha Married Life. Parull is an NLP practitioner, a psychologist, and a relationship coach. Parull, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on the Be Your Own
Thank you.
Boss podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sachin. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. Be your own boss is so exciting. I mean, the title itself is so exciting.
Yeah. So, Parull, let's start with your story here and your journey. Let's start from the beginning. So, do you want to tell us about your parents and your childhood, the environment? Let's start from that.
Okay. See, I was born in doctor's family. All my extended family is full of doctors, and my parents also. My mother is no more, but she was a doctor, and my father also is a doctor, and he is still serving, right? Uh, from the time I was born, actually, I saw them as very genuine doctors serving people with utmost sincerity. So I was quite taken by that approach to help people, and I know how much of satisfaction they used to get, and how, and both of them were eye specialists. So every day in the evening they used to discuss those cases, and as a child I used to listen to their stories and quite carried away by that. Okay, I also wanted to be one. At the same time, I just could not become. I mean, I could not even take science in class 11. Okay, because I used to feel that I am not a good student. That's how I used to feel about myself, although I wanted to become a doctor. But then at the same time, my mother played a very great role, and she introduced me to the subject psychology, which I thought would be a very good subject if I wanted also to, create the same impact which my parents were creating from the non-medical perspective. And that's how I did my graduation and post-graduation in applied psychology. And then I applied for the jobs. I was back then it was not, psychologists job was not as much in the market as it is now. So I went in for corporate sector, corporate HR. And there one of the functions I had was counseling. And I realized how much I used to love counseling, and how much even people used to love when I used to counsel. So for 20 years I was there, in corporate sector and education sector both, in HR, with the focus on counseling. And after 20 years then I took a decision to be on my own.
So, you worked for 20 years, and
Yeah.
what happened at this time after 20 years that you decided that maybe it was, I think it was somewhere around mid 2013, 2013, right? So, what happened that you decided to change and be your own boss?
See, Sachin, I have, you know, in 2011, from 2011, I realized that, there used to be some knock from inside. And that's where we say that, always connect with what is happening inside of you. Okay, there is some energy inside of you, some voice inside of you, which will come in some form or the other. It was to me coming in the form of discomfort. Okay, discomfort, and this voice used to say something that you need to get out of this zone and do something else, reach larger audience. And I suddenly started to find my organization as a, very very limited place, limited in terms of not the physical space, but where I can reach out to people. And so there was something inside me happening which was asking me to spread my wings further. For 2 years, I kept listening to that knock until that day came when I said, now I can't take it. I need to do something about it. But what do I need to do? I had no clue. Now there are coaches who will tell you what you can do, but back then I had no idea. So I spoke with my boss. I mean, I had a very, very good rapport with my boss, and I spoke with my boss. And he then told me that, Parul, you need to venture out. And he said, why don't you go in for NLP? I had no idea about NLP. I used to trust my boss blindly. I Googled, I found out. Fortunately, I landed in one of the best institutes, and that's how I started slowly and gradually. But then the inner voice, listen to the inner voice and taking that action, those two things are where I think I really got strong.
That was the trigger. So, Parul, you mentioned about NLP. So, for the audience, for the listeners who don't know about NLP, can you tell us what is NLP exactly?
I'll tell you in very layman terms, right? Neuro linguistic programming. Okay, what is linguistic word has come from the word language. Neuro has to do with our nerves, the neurons in the brain. Okay, and programming we all know. Uh, when we use a certain kind of language, how do we talk to ourselves or to others, or the way others talk to us, it creates an impact in our brain. Neurological circuits are formed according to the language we use, which then becomes a program in our mind. And once it becomes a program, then our behavior becomes uh, unconscious. In NLP, we say unconscious. Nowadays, people say subconscious, but our behavior becomes so unconscious that we don't even think, and it just happens. Okay, let me give you an example here. Now, if this is a true example of, when I was doing the classroom observation in one of the schools, uh, there was this grade 4 teacher who was teaching maths in the class. She solved a sum on the board and she gave homework to the class, right? And then, as children were doing their work, I mean, the classwork, when children were doing their work, she was just taking the round and she stood behind one student, looked at his notebook, and within a minute, she says, I knew you will not be able to solve this problem. Okay, she said this to the boy. Now, teacher being the authority, when this comes as a statement from the authority figure, what has the child done unconsciously? It has got assimilated inside, right? I knew you will make this mistake. I knew you cannot do maths, right? Now, when the same child goes to home and teacher writes needs more practice in maths, what does mother or what does father or what does tuition teacher tell the child? You are weak in this. If you don't practice this, you will not get math marks. So, what is the child accumulating gradually? I am not good at maths, or if I don't do it right, I will not get good marks. That's the language of the brain, and that's what is going inside. Now, when this child listens to this again and again and again and again, the neurological circuits get formed, and brain works on the principle of congruence. So, what the brain thinks, body will do that. So, this child, I followed up with this child for 5 years. He could not study maths.
Yeah, that's
That's
because of the belief. Like he formed the belief because of what his authority said. Like people from the authoritative positions,
that's
like teacher,
language.
his parents. Yeah, yeah. So, neurolinguistic programming is, if I understand this right, first understanding the effect language and has on our our circuits and the circuitry and the brain, mind in overall, and programming it or reprogramming it in a way to make it more effective, right? Got it. So turn it around and use more in a positive way.
If I
Okay.
say, Sachin, when are we going for a movie? Okay. Now, this looks like a very simple sentence, right? When are we going for a movie?
Mm.
But you know how brain interprets? And that's where we say it's a language of the brain. When are we going for a movie? There is a presupposition there that we are going for a movie. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of when. Consciously, you will not know this. But I can talk to you like that, wherein now your brain is assimilating. Okay, we will go for a movie. You will not even know that I said this to you. That's language, right? This is another example I'm giving.
Yeah, yeah, true. So you decide, like after the 20 years of career, when this, with this calling from inside, then you decided that you want to start working on your own, and you did NLP. So NLP training, how long is this, and is it like a full-time training, or is it something that you could do on the side while you were still working?
I chose to do it after I quit my job because I wanted to devote time. There are a lot of institutes who are offering 6 to 7 days of program, and the 6 to 7 days is full days program, right? Practitioner and master practitioner. Master practitioner would be another 7 to 10 days, sometimes 15 days. Okay. Why I chose full time is because it needs a lot of practice. It is simple, but it actually needs a lot of practice, and I really wanted to give it a full time because I wanted to take it up.
So you quit your job, and then started, you did the NLP here. There is another aspect that I would like to touch upon here, which is the financial aspect. Now you worked for 20 years, okay, and was there um, a disruption in the income? Because of course when you quit your job, now you don't have an income anymore. So did that affect your life in any way?
I had been working for so many years, so I really had those kind of funds which I could rely on. I knew that if I don't earn for at least 1 to 2 years, it is still going to be absolutely fine. So those that kind of money which I had accumulated, I started investing in my own self for more learning, right? So that's where NLP also came into the picture. I invested, but you can't expect the returns immediately, and it's quite a shock when there comes that month when that monthly salary doesn't go to your bank and that SMS doesn't come that this much money has been credited. So it's like, oops, this is where you do get that shock. Over a period of time, it takes about 3 to 4 months before you know that that's not the kind of salary you will have. But then yes, it's a matter of little time investment, investment of your whatever you're investing, it's going to come back to you. Have patience and keep going with the belief that one day you'll make it happen. But when you start to make it happen, then also the figures are very different, right? You were earning in some figures, and when you start to get your first client, you don't get that kind of money. But then it comes over time. Also depends on what business are you getting into. That is also a
That's true.
factor.
There's also the financial discipline here, right? Let's, if we go one step back here, is for the last 20 years that you've been working, you had savings, and you managed to, so you did have a financial discipline there, where you could, did you invest on a monthly basis? Did you have a plan that?
I didn't have any such plan. I was like any other regular salaried employee, impulsive shopper. And for me, saving was really tough. But then this habit of savings was inculcated by my father. So, he would keep asking, are you saving this money? Have you saved this much of money? So just to ensure that I'm a good daughter and I listen to him, so I would save some money. But then I was always an impulsive buyer. So, had I planned, maybe I would have saved more, but that was not true in my case.
Yeah.
Financial discipline is more of a value when you have quit your job and you don't get the salary. Discipline at that point in time is what is needed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's so, and at that, and this is where the change in lifestyle comes in, because now you don't have the SMS coming in every month.
And you tend to look at the phone that, every month first it used to ring saying this much of salary, and you used to jump in joy and then go shopping and whatever. But then this SMS doesn't come, so you know that somewhere that you have to start another kind of discipline, which is
Yeah.
tough initially, but then it happens.
So, Parul, after you quit your job, you did the NLP training, and after that, you started working as an NLP practitioner, if I understand this right. Yeah. Okay. So, can you tell us about that? NLP practitioner. As an NLP practitioner, what does one do, and how do you go about practicing NLP?
Okay. I'll explain this with an example, Sachin, right? One of my first clients, she had this phobia of shopping and phobia of stepping out of the house. And that is because she has this experience where once she was shopping and two men came on the bike and they snatched her handbag and went. After that, she could not step out of the house. She could not even go to her local market to buy bread, butter, etc. And secondly, the sound of the motorbike used to scare her to such an extent that even if she was at home and she heard the bike, then she would get scared. So life actually became completely paralyzed for her. And her husband was very concerned as to how she's going to live life like that, staying inside the home all the time. So that's the time I worked with her. So NLP as NLP practitioner means that there is a certain kind of intervention we use with doing certain strategies on that person. So I did that intervention on her for 1 hour. Okay, there were certain things that I was doing, and then after 1 hour, there was a test which was to be undertaken, and that test was she had to step out and go and do shopping. One of my colleagues offered that, okay, I'm going to take her on my bike and see what happens. She was able to step out. She sat on the bike. He left her on the in the market. He parked his bike at one corner and he said, now you go and buy something and then come back. So she went and she bought some sweets and came back, sat on the bike, and was, she came back home. So that is the NLP intervention, which doesn't take long. It just takes about maximum an hour, 15, 20 minutes if you're working with NLP practitioner. And then if I train you to be using NLP techniques, then you can also use it on yourself. It doesn't take much time. So that's where I was working as an NLP practitioner after I quit my job.
Wow, that's a powerful, session, right? Just in that 1 hour, you were able to
Yeah.
get her out of that phobia and get back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Parul, here again, there is another aspect as well that we would like to touch upon and understand. So, similar cases where when people quit their job and they start something on their own as a practitioner or as a freelancer, right? Um, the biggest challenge people face is, how am I going to get clients, right? And how did you manage that when you started as an NLP practitioner?
Yeah, as I was associate in this institute from where I did my NLP program, NLP course. Okay, they were kind enough, and initially, what happened was that um, whenever they were in Delhi for the program, I would attend there program. So in the first go, I was all the time learning. Then there was they were away for 3 months. In those 3 months, I just kept practicing. Right. They came back after 3 months and did another round of program, which I joined again. Now in that program, there used to be practical sessions. So at the end of 5 days, real clients would come, right? And all the students were given clients. Now, when I was repeating programs after programs, every time I was going, I was given the students, and my NLP mentor at that time would give me the toughest ones. And he would also check if the change has happened or not. He had his own ways of checking, so he would check that. And then he realized that he was very happy with the work that I was doing, because all those people, the real people who were coming as clients, were getting results. So initially he started sending me clients. He said, you get associated with that organization as a practitioner. You can take your independent clients also, and I'm going to be sending you. So every time clients enrolled in their organization, I would get clients from there. Now that built a lot of confidence, and I also started to spread my word. And that's how, for me, that's how it happened, quite organically.
Wow, that's nice then. So you now you're working as the NLP practitioner. You started to get clients and you're working with clients now. And then what happened? What did you transition into after that?
Yeah, that's when, I developed this desire, which was already there when I was working in the education institution, that I wanted to work with children. So, as NLP practitioner, also, I opened the doors where I could work with children, and that's when I started to go to the schools, doing classroom observations, speaking with teachers, speaking with parents. And that's when this little girl, I had gone to school for 5 days of program, and this little girl was about, I think, 9 years of age, would just not speak. You would hardly see her blinking eyes. I mean, I know it's difficult to believe, but that's how she was. Her movements were restricted. Her body was, quite tightened. She would not even move her neck. She would give you a blank look. She would never answer. She would never talk. You ask her name, she would not tell that name. So I was quite intrigued by what is happening. So I did that NLP intervention on her.
It's time for a short break here. We'll continue this conversation right after this break. Stay tuned.
Husband and wife are sleeping. Tap in the bathroom begins to drip. Wife gets up, she fixes that tap. After 1 hour, it again starts to drip, and now she's expecting her husband to get up, but he's sleeping deep and snoring. So, second time also, she gets up and fixes it. This happened 3 times. Wife is really angry. So next day in the morning, she's asking her husband as to why did he not get up, and he says, I didn't even hear the dripping tap. Now she gets even more angry, saying that why is it that I am the only one who has to fix up all the loose ends? And the moment the husband responds, the war begins. If you are that husband who's facing this kind of a war, I invite you to join my marriage makeover workshop, because here I'm going to be telling you how to avoid this war and have a beautiful, loving relationship with your wife. Click on the link, and I'm going to be seeing you at the workshop. Take care. Bye.
So I was quite intrigued by what is happening. So I did that NLP intervention on her on day one. And within half an hour, she was like, as if some life was put into her, and she was happy. She started to smile. She started to talk. And at the end of those 5 days, she was, she became the news in the school, and she blossomed. And when I spoke with the director, she said that ever since she's taken the admission in nursery, this is how she has been. And her story is that her mother gets beaten up by her father quite often, and she witnesses all of it. Now, my dream always was to work with children, and when I came across this girl, I thought, what is the point in working with her? because ultimately she's going back to the same family. I'm here only for 5 days. I am not going to be coming back again. So, what can I do differently? And that's the time I realized, let me work on the root cause. She's coming from a broken home. What if I can work with parents?
Mm. So because her condition was just the effect or just the symptoms. The root cause was the parents and the situation at home. And how
Yes.
could you want to help her, but how can you change the situation of her parents?
That is what I also thought. What do I do? And that's when I connected with my mentor, also my NLP mentor. And he did one activity with me called Project of the Heart. So he had put me into trance and he started talking. Now, when I was in trance and I was answering, whatever he was saying, ultimately, when we decoded all of it, the decoding led to the fact that I was very keen to work with, work in the domain of making relationships work. That is how the decode came into the picture. Okay, and the moment this thought came, or this was revealed through the decoding process, I realized it was like, oh my God, it was so satisfying. That knock that was there for so many years, somehow it settled then. Though I was doing NLP, I was working as NLP practitioner, but this, somewhere that little voice was still there, somewhere that little discomfort was still there. And when it settled, with this, I realized, yes, this is my path. And though I got into coaching, and when I got into coaching, I again forgot about it. It just left me. I don't know how. And then my coach, when I was learning coaching, when he started asking questions and he started talking, then this surfaced again, relationship coaching. And that's how I started.
So your inner calling was really to work on relationships to make
Yes.
lives better. Right.
Yes. Because through that, then I'll be able to impact children. And that's how relationship
Yeah.
coaching came into the picture.
Yeah. So, and that's a very, very important point here. So, through working with the relationship of the parents, you're really helping the children by helping the parents have a better relationship. So now, from a practical, like a company perspective, or how you formed this one, so you decided that okay, you're going to work on relationships now, right? How did things transition from there? Then? Did you form a company, or did you like establish it, or did you develop some courses? Talk us through that process.
I first, to understand what coaching is, I first enrolled to learn coaching. Along with that, the same organization, same institute, same academy where I was learning coaching, I was also learning marketing. So both marketing and coaching is where I, enrolled for, which took quite a lot of time. And from there, I started to market, and from there, I started to coach. When I was learning coaching, that's the time, my coach said that you need to have either a program name or a website name or a company name, whatever you feel comfortable with. So I was more comfortable with having a website and a website name. So that's how it started with aahamarriedlife.com. And very interestingly, when I started to approach people through all those marketing strategies that I was learning, I realized, couples were very hesitant, wherein I saw that men were hesitant. They were not wanting to join the coaching with their wives. So I thought, okay, let me change the strategy. So I said, okay, let me start working with women. And also, another reason was that when husband and wife are coming together, it's not very difficult, right? They can take a decision and they can walk in. But when husband is not ready, that's where wife gets stuck. She thinks, she believes that if my husband is not participating, I alone cannot do anything. So these two reasons: one, man not wanting to participate, and two, how do I encourage women that you can still make it happen? Come on, let's do it together. So I started approaching women then. And when I started approaching women, I realized that working on women alone could turn around their married lives. They could save their marriages. They could save that relationship. So that was a very, very powerful revelation that woman is so powerful that she can turn around without submitting to her husband, without submitting to her husband, without being his yes person. Okay. And why working women? Because I thought that if I'm to shake the women community to come out and do something for their married life, it is not very feasible for the homemaker to do it, because she's already in that zone where she is not seen the outside world. Professional woman has seen the outside world. She'll be able to take that decision for herself, right?
Yeah.
So I thought honestly that that would be easier to approach, and through their examples, then I'll approach homemakers. So that's how I started with professional women.
So it's a phased manner. You're going in a phased manner, step by step, one step at a time. Let's work with the working women. And the working women have a different set of challenges, right? Because it's not easy to manage your career, manage your business, manage the relationship, the family, and strike a balance between in all of this. And I'm not saying that men don't have this problem, but then for women, it's all the more challenging. And I've always had very very high respect for working women, because there is my mother was one as well. So now with the kind of programs that you do, how has been the response so far with the working women?
See, one of the challenges is that working woman always has this belief, and I'm not saying this is anything right or wrong, but what I came across was that this working woman has a belief that if my marriage works, it works. If it doesn't, I can always walk out, right? Because she's financially independent. That's the main thing. And that's being financially independent is very good. But at the same time, she uses that as an excuse of, I would not say excuse, but the reason why she does not want to join the relationship coaching, because she thinks, all right, I have given my best, I have tried my best, but if it doesn't work, I'll walk out. So breaking that mindset to say that no, at least give it one try, that was tough and that was pretty challenging. While it took a lot of time, but then fortunately the breakthrough happened, and then women started to come.
Got it. So when you do these programs, right, and you're doing one now in very soon, right? So what's your approach like? Is that do you go to an institute, or do you work with a company, or where you have all of a lot of women, or is it like there where you have your own, let's say you book your venue and invite students? Talk us through that process. What do you do? How do you run your programs?
I would love to do it for organizations as well. I have not reached there yet. Uh, as of now, until now, I have been doing one on one coaching, because this is one area where people thought that I can't be in the group. What if people see me? What if somebody known sees me, right? So I started with one to one hones your coaching skills to a very, very large extent. So I started one to one for professional women. Now, this month, at the end of this month, I am launching this program for housewives as well. Those who are really willing to bring about that change in their lives and make their relationship work. So now I am launching for housewives. But now, this time, there is also a change where it's going to be group coaching to begin with. unless somebody is looking for one to one. There is a possibility that, when that group coaching is done, there could be some people wanting one to one. That's a different matter. But now, beginning with group coaching for anybody, or any woman. In fact, this group coaching I'm starting with men also. So it's going to be, this program that I'm launching is going to be, um, men can participate, women can participate, anybody. Those in committed relationships can participate.
Got it, got it. And the dynamics are so different, right? When you're working with a group, you can tell, like, you can share certain techniques, certain principles and approaches and things like that. But on a one on one, because only on a one on one, because when it comes to this is such a sensitive matter, right? People will only open up when it's directly on a one on one with you.
Yes, absolutely. So one on one continues, definitely. Yes, that option will always be there. But this is like a generic one, where very powerful, generic, where I really want men, women, everybody to participate. And if couples can come in, it's really, really going to be doing wonders.
Yeah. Oh, this is something that I always ask towards the end of the conversation, but I want to ask it right now because it's relevant here. How can people register for this program that's coming up? So tell us about that. What's the
Okay, my
registration?
program is called, this is called Marriage Makeover Workshop. I have been talking about this in Instagram, in Facebook. If you see my WhatsApp status, that's also showing that. And I am going to be sending the registration link only on Sunday, starting, this coming Sunday. So anybody who can access that link through either my Facebook main profile or my Facebook group or through Instagram, they'll be able to register for the program.
Got it, got it. And the website. So your website is
Dot
ahamarriedlife.com.
com. Yeah, I'll be putting this link in Aha Married Life as well. In
Got it,
my
got
website
it.
also, I'll
Because
be putting this link.
yes,
Yeah.
on the website, because um, by the time this episode goes live, I think it'll this program may be already done. So for all future programs, then they can still go to our Married Life and register there and on your website, and they can connect with you.
Yeah, of course. No, this workshop that I'm launching, I intend to be doing it every week for at least a month.
Fantastic. So, Parul, looking at your journey and see what your learnings, what would be your advice to especially the career women who are at that stage where they want to quit their job and be their own boss?
See, one is the intention, very important, I believe, is the intention to believe that you can be your own boss. That's very important. Once you set that intention, that is definitely going to happen. So, after you've set the intention, step number two is listen to your inner voice. Normally, what happens is sometimes the inner voice is harsh. Sometimes the inner voice tells you a lot of negative stuff. Sometimes the inner voice tells you why it is not possible. And that's nothing, it's nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. That's how you've been conditioned. That's how your upbringing has been. Again, not blaming the parents, but parents tend to say, "Naukri kar lo," do the job because it's better to have steady salary. In business, you may not have the steady salary. So those kind of things are already there inside. So believe that it will happen. So that negative side of the voice, keep it aside, but that go deep inside, and that inner voice will tell you, I want to do this. Sit down and listen to that inner voice and take that action. That's what I will say. It is tough, I know. It is scary, I know. But then, there is a saying, I don't know how do you say it in English, but in Hindi, it's very impactful. If I have your permission to say it in Hindi,
Yes, yes, go ahead.
डर के आगे जीत है.
डर के
So you
आगे
could
जीत है. Absolutely,
cross
yes.
that. Yeah. So that's where you have to start.
Yeah.
Intention and the inner voice followed by action. That's where it is.
Got it, Parul. Very, very well said. So, Parul, looking at your journey now, okay, looking back at how things have turned out for you in your life personally, who would you like to give the credit to for your success?
My first boss is one person who had 500 applications for the first job in HR. And out of those 500 applications, 499 were MBA in HR, and I was the only one with Masters in Applied Psychology. And he said, Parul, I have taken you because you are Masters in Applied Psychology, and I know you will create that difference. So I'm very grateful to him for giving that first breakthrough. And this place where I did my NLP practitioner course from, Antino and Harini from School of Excellence. That's where my transformation began. And definitely my current organization where I'm associated with, Academy for Coaches, headed by Braj Mohan Das, who's a head coach, who's the founder of Academy for Coaches. That's where I give lot of credit to for this entire, you know, wherever I am today as a coach. Professional thing I have already mentioned. With regards to, you know, as I got into psychology, my parents have played a very, very great role. And yes, my family has been very, very supportive for whatever I have ventured into. So, a lot of people.
Yeah, very well. So, Parul, with the kind of you know work that you do, I'm sure there is like you're busy all the time, and I'd like to touch upon the other aspect here as well, which is your own energy, right? What's your way of rejuvenating and recharging your battery? What's your leisure?
That's so important, when people get into business, Sachin. They start to work 14 hours, 15 hours, no Saturday, no Sunday, nothing. And they're so much into it to get that breakthrough. So very important thing is that you've got to still take out that time for your own self. Okay. So for me, things like my evening walk, long 45, 50 minutes of walk, that's very important to me. My early morning yoga is very important. My meditation is another uh, zone which I get into every day for about 1.5, 2 hours. And every Saturday and Sunday, I take a break where I actually started to learn painting. So every Saturday and Sunday, I go to my painting classes. I spend almost the whole day there, and that's where I recharge my batteries.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. And art is like, although whether I mean, me personally, like, I can't draw a line straight. So, but still, art. If I can get to do an activity which is art related, it's a way of rejuvenating yourself.
No, even I could not draw, Sachin. Can you believe when I joined this art course, not course, but it's a continuous basis, the sir, would make me draw these lines, horizontal and vertical lines, and I could not draw them straight. So I filled pages and pages and pages. I think a month had gone, more than a month. And then he said, okay, now you can draw this or draw that. It was a journey, but it's very interesting. And that's where all that energy comes from. It's also an expression, right? Art is also a form of expression. So I really enjoy that. And I go for my art classes every Saturday, Sunday.
So you go for your art classes. You know something, Parul, I've noticed here that there is a pattern in, or there is a habit you have in of investing in yourself.
Oh,
You've been
yes. Oh,
right from
yes.
beginning, right? You have you spend a lot on time and effort, and of course money on yourself. You
Yes.
started with
Yes,
NLP.
Sachin. It started with NLP, and then NLP, I also went to the co founders, Dr. Richard Bandler. I went there for further experience. And I also then invested money for train the trainer with regards to NLP. How do you become the trainer if you want to use NLP. And then a lot of money I spent on learning coaching. Then I also learned mentor coaching, and now painting. I learned very, very high end meditation techniques. I spent a lot of money there. So, self development is my first love, actually.
Self development.
Yeah.
It is, it
Without
is.
that, you can't progress. I mean, you just
Yeah.
can't progress in life. And if you're setting up your own business, self development is the first thing you will need to get into. Because there'll be a lot of internal blocks that will come when you start. Lot of internal block. So dealing with that internal resistance is where you definitely need to invest in yourself to know how you can get out of it.
Parul, thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your journey and your story with us. It was really wonderful talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Sachin. It was a great, platform, and I really loved interacting with you here on this platform. And I hope this will inspire many, many people, not just women, but anybody who wishes to undertake that entrepreneurial journey. That it is tough, but it's something which is so fulfilling when you are on your own, when you are your own boss.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Parul Diwan, the founder of Aaha Married Life, and you've been watching and listening to Be Your Own Boss.